Assalamu alaikum. This is Mohammad QURAISHI at The Real Agenda for UCTV. Today, our guest is Samira Mian. Samira Mian is from the new Crescent Society, and we've invited her in today because the Dhul Hijjah is around the corner. Um, you know, again, during Ramadan and Dhul Hijjah, running up to Eid al-Adha, we get this controversy over when to do Eid, etc. And we're looking into the aspects of having a united Eid, possibly have people look for the moon in the UK and get Eid. All together. See if that's possible. I know some people think this is impossible. This has been going on for decades, and we don't seem to have any agreement. But there's things happening, and a lot of people are aware of the things that are happening, but a lot of people aren't aware to where to. So I will actually introduce Samira right now. Assalamu alaikum, Samira.
Walaikum assalam.
Right, so introduce to us what New Crescent Society is and how it's different from what we've had previously.
So New Crescent Society was started by Imad Ahmed and a few people, and it kind of grew over the years from one or two locations to now many across the country. And the idea is, as people, as Muslims, go out and attempt to sight the moon on a monthly basis, and from that, hopefully, inshallah, with enough sightings, we can overcome the problem that we thought there was historically, which is the weather and being unable to see the crescent moon. So with sufficient sightings across the country, we can then establish an Islamic calendar in the United Kingdom. And then inshallah, with everybody following it and everyone on board, we can then have one Eid across the nation. So we've not had that for many, many years. And it's always a difficult thing for family and for friends, with masjids on the same road celebrating Eid on different days, because what has been happening is that the masjids and the organizations have been guided by places outside of the UK, so either following notifications or announcements from Saudi Arabia, or from Morocco, or from sightings in South Africa, other information. So if we can do it in the United Kingdom, then inshallah we can have a united Eid.
Inshallah. Yeah, so okay, so are we basically saying that we've not had moon sighting before? Is it, as I said, no moon sightings before, like for a calendar in the UK base? Because we seem to be getting our prayer timetables, when to pray. We seem to know that there's certain parts of the year, we have a discrepancy over what time Isha is. So we have, we look at the astronomy and data and check everything else out for things like prayer and everything. But are we saying we don't even have a calendar properly sorted any time at all previously?
I don't believe so. I don't think there's one that has been one where people have reached consensus across the country. There have been people really, diligently trying to sight the moon over the years, maybe 20 plus years. There have been attempts to bring together the people who make the decisions and lead us, the ulama and so on, and mosque leaders and community leaders. But somehow, for whatever reason, it hasn't come to a point where we as a country have one calendar that we've agreed on, or one method for that. So it feels like, because this movement is grassroots movement and people are getting involved directly rather than through institutions, it feels as though they're empowered to then talk to their local mosques or talk to their leaders and say, why are we doing this, why are we following that, why are we not doing that? So it feels as though it's picking up momentum in a different way to how it's been done before.
Right, inshallah. Okay, so I think the next question would then be, is that what would what would the result be? So let's say we now tomorrow we have moon sighting up and down the United Kingdom. We have people reporting it. You know, we've got an ideal situation where everybody's looking for it. You know, whether it's England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. Then what happens then?
Okay, so then let's kind of bulk out what the ideal is. So the ideal would be that we have people sighting across the nation. We have a reporting mechanism, so it's centralized, so that the sightings are collected in a timely fashion, and then announcements are then made in a timely fashion. So for example, the issue we have is that on the 29th of the Islamic month, we will go out after Maghrib. So, you know, Maghrib could be 9:30 almost, and we then are sighting the moon from about 30 to 40 minutes after that. And therefore, you know, so that process to be, have a centralized reporting mechanism, and then have an announcement mechanism so that people can get the information. And just to kind of clarify, if the moon's not sighted on the 29th month, you know, we're not totally doing this for we know, you know, what our chances are. So if the moon isn't sighted and there was no chance of seeing it in the UK, then we can complete the 30 days of the month. So, you know, there are things to be agreed in this. You know, some people previously might have thought, is it okay to sight the moon using an optical aid? Some people might have thought, can we not just use calculations? So all these questions need to be fed into what the ultimate solution is, but it does come down to reporting and then announcements.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So that way, if we cover everything, we'll basically be independent in making our own UK calendar based on UK moon sighting. Does that mean we don't need to rely on Saudi Arabia, South Africa, etc., Pakistan, Morocco?
Yeah, I mean, you know, one thing I think somebody has said in the past is like, what a privilege it is to be in a country and celebrate Eid together in that country. Like, we've never experienced that in our local communities or across the nation. So sometimes this idea of a united Eid, some people maybe think across the world, but that will never be possible when you think about where we start from and where the moon is sighted. But having one Eid in the United Kingdom and being able to do that independently of other nations, and also bringing together all the many types of Muslims in this nation, mashallah, that's a really good ideal to aim for.
Yeah, it'll be a good achievement to get that, because there've been a lot of things in the past we can't agree on. Some people try to sight the moon locally, and you know, sometimes they end up doing it 2-3 days late because they can't see it being cloudy. You know, they're doing Eid or starting Ramadan late. It's happened where, you know, some people are following Saudi. Saudi doesn't always get it right. They have a calendar-based system, and sometimes they don't get it right. Let's be honest. But you know, people feel that that's where Mecca and Medina is. We should go with that. I mean, which is a good sentiment to have, but does it work from a fiqh perspective? From, well, we're supposed to sight the moon. We don't follow Mecca and Medina for prayer timetables, so why would we follow that? You know, when it comes to the movements of the sun and prayer, we don't follow other countries. We do our own. But for some reason, when it comes to the moon, we want to follow other countries. So there's people following Morocco, South Africa, and my understanding was the last time, I think, was it the Eid we had, it was sighted in Morocco, but UK was not visible, and South Africa wasn't visible either. There were negative sightings, and but even according to the data, it was either going to be not visible or very difficult anyway. So even going according to Morocco may not work for us.
The way the graph the way it shows itself is it's like I'm going to use parabola. It's a curve, right? So it's a parabola. So it kind of starts broadly and then narrows. So imagine the narrowing. Morocco's at the heart of that narrowing, but the UK is above it, and South Africa below it. So if you
we get this thinking because when we look at timelines do happen on a straight line.
Yeah.
So people have that in their mind, and then when they come to the moon thing, it's a curve, and we just say, well, no, our time is the same as Morocco, or at about an hour and a half, or sometimes it's the same. So we're in line with them, but it doesn't work like in a line as we straight line as at all.
I guess people are seeking interim solutions. So while we don't have something, then perhaps maybe they do feel better.
I have heard that. I've heard that basically, look, for all this time, it's difficult to see the moon in the UK. It's too cloudy most of the time. It's hard to see it, etc. But from the mappings, there are quite a few times where it's easy to see the moon. Sometimes it is difficult, of course. But my understanding is that if we were to do it UK only, and if we concentrate, even if we didn't see the moon and waited till we did see it or completed 30, we'd still, even in the UK, even if we're outside doing it differently from other countries, we'd still have 29 or 30 days. It'll never go 28 or 31, for example.
Yeah, I think if we're going to go for a unified situation in the UK, then, with all the data that's available to us, we should use that to maybe plot out a calendar year or 2 years or 3 years, many years, all the data's there. And then you can see where the crunch points are, because there will be some. They've occurred in the past and they'll occur again. And then you can have enough people citing for it. You can have enough knowledge about it. So rather than just be surprised or people not know that these situations come up, or they think it's a rare thing, it's part of the education. It's part of us knowing that there were no chances of ever seeing it in the UK on the 29th. There wasn't. It was never going to be seen. So when you complete the 30 days, you're still following the sunnah. When you have a negative sighting on the 29th, you're still completing the sunnah. So there are going to be, in a typical Islamic calendar year, 6 of each. So negative sightings are part and package of it, and positive sightings, they're hard to do, they're difficult to do, but they are part and package of it, and they can happen, and they have happened. I think somebody collected together the data from the last 2 years. It's really promising. So
so you reckon we're on our way to having an accurate calendar?
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
And I think, with the conversations that people are having, the informed nature of them, it seems to be getting better and better.
Inshallah. Well, with that, we've got to go to a quick break for our sponsors, inshallah. So back in a bit. Okay, welcome back to The Real Agenda. Our guest today is Samira Mian, and continuing on from before. Samira, I'm going to ask you, okay, look, you've got the ideal, you've told us what New Crescent Society is about, and it sounds great. But what really we're going to do to get people together? Which heads do we need to knock together, and who do we need to talk to, just to bring the UK Muslim community together on this? If not anything else, it's fine. Just together on this, at least.
Firstly, I think if we talk from an informed position, that helps. Okay. So the New Crescent Society do training and so on. There's one coming up. I'm sure you'll mention it in a second. But if we have an informed position, then we can go to our masjids and we can speak to our leaders there. We can go to our communities and speak to people there from that informed position. And then what has been happening, for example, Imad, our director, he's been receiving calls from imams at masjid saying, listen, you know, people have been asking me about sighting the moon. So those conversations have been taking place and they are increasing. So therefore, people are seeking the solution. They're then talking to their leaders, and then their leaders are also talking to the New Crescent Society and probably others to try and bring some solution into fruition. Excellent.
So it's just about getting people together, talking to the right people. I mean, maybe I'm being pessimistic, but my experience of this, sometimes this can be a bit problematic. People don't want to talk to each other. Some people are stubborn. Some people are set in their ways. How do we change the older generation? You know, that kind of thing comes to mind. I'm not saying it's impossible. I guess if it's just about sitting down and talking, it could happen. But you know, it's.
I mean, amazingly,
what would you say? Hang on. What would you say the most? What is the catalyst? Why would imams and then contact New Crescent Society and say, "Help us! What's going on?" It was so. They must be noticing what NCS is doing.
I mean, from what I've seen, I've seen mosques make announcements and then people literally pick them apart in the public forums that they make the announcements. So, for example, during lockdown, many of us were probably having to refer to Facebook for knowing when our masjids were going to be announcing Eid. And then when they were announced, people literally attacked them as, why this, why that, why not this, why this, why are you different? So they are in a position where they are on the receiving end of many people's sort of sometimes abusive, sometimes polite, questions and they're saying and doing. So they're having to raise their game. And if they want to sort of remain blind to it or kind of tunnel visioned about it, they're just going to increase the level of tension in their communities and it will remain unaddressed. And while the communities are getting more and more informed and knowledgeable, this gap will emerge. So, surely if in the mosque they want to kind of serve their community, then they need to have these conversations. It's very straightforward and simple.
Right. So are we then saying, looking at what you're saying, is that it's actually, if it's the people, the average people who are holding the mosques to account, the imams to account, the committees to account, if it's the people who are doing that, then it's not just about talking to them. We will talk to them, inshallah, we get unity, but at the same time keep educating people about moon sighting at the grassroots, because it's those people who are going to be knocking on the doors of the masjid saying, hey, what's going on? I've seen the moon tonight. Why are we doing Eid? You know what I mean? So it seems to me, from what you say, it's a twofold. That we do need to talk to organisations, masajid, and get them together. But at the moment, even now, without that happening, or maybe not happening, I don't know at what level it's happening. Maybe at a small level, it's not happened. It's clearly we're not united, so more work needs to be done. But while that's going on, there are people who are actually raising issues. I mean, times have changed. 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't have had all this social media, Facebook, to push these issues. We didn't have WhatsApp 15 years ago. It's literally so I can see how that would be, but this to me means that, yeah, the one idea is to have talk to people, put heads together, talk to our ulama, talk to our organisations, and try and get them to agree. But pressure from the people is also working, doing it in its own way, in its own subtle way.
Like in recent years, any movement that's grown or taken place or has affected change has often been started by people. And you can think of many in like the wider world. The most recent one is Black Lives Matter, and that has taken on such momentum. And you see how organizations, corporations, sporting fixtures, all these people in positions of power and authority are taking on board. But it was started by people. So, you know, for our society and for our, you know, purposes and need, our people need to step up, our people need to get educated. And if we realize that we don't have the reach ourselves, you know, as a group, we're just, you know, volunteers with a purpose. But if we can reach out to other people and they can reach out and they can reach out, that is a really powerful, effective tool to effect change. Definitely.
I agree with that completely. That's just 100% on board with that. So I think that brings us round nicely, guys. So you know, according to, you know, what we've just agreed on, you know, there is that the momentum does come from the average people, you know, and that to me says more of us need to go out and sight the moon in the UK. Yeah. And the only way we're going to sight the moon in the UK is knowing how to look, knowing when to look, and what kind of places to go out and look at. And that's going to happen with education, with training. So speaking of training, there's something going on this Saturday, isn't there?
Yeah, so there's going to be the New Crescent Society training on Saturday. You can sign up in the link, and it's from 3:00 till 3:30 till 5 o'clock, and it'll go through the basics of moon sighting and setting up a location. One thing I wanted to also add is there is people power, but the New Crescent Society had a Halal committee, sort of a Halal conference. I want to say it was 2 years ago, and it was very well represented by the leaders in our community across the nation. So there will be, inshallah, another one of those to consolidate and bring together the leaders so that they can take charge and make changes and coordinate and get this calendar on the roads. So the people power is effective, but in the end, the leaders do need to kind of effectively put in place the mechanisms we need. So the second part of it is that the change happens by them doing so. So a conference, hopefully, inshallah, will be planned in 2021.
Inshallah, or whenever we can get heads knocked together. The sooner the better, really.
Yeah, inshallah.
So people at home, there's a training happening. As Samira just said to you, it's online, because we're still in partial lockdown, and basically that would mean it's from 3:30 till 5. You said, and inshallah, look out. I'll get the link up on Facebook or something when we watch this program. So look out for that when you're watching this program on Facebook, YouTube. I think we're going on Facebook more or less immediately. So look out for the advert and the link, and I'll make sure that goes up. So I do sign up for that because it will tell you how to set up a location in your particular area, and basically an A to Z of moon sighting. And let's all go out on Tuesday, I think it is. And if we don't see it Tuesday, we can even go on Wednesday, just to go and try and sight the moon and build this momentum throughout the UK, inshallah.
You know, this idea that we go to try and sight the moon on the Tuesday, which is the 29th, and it might be difficult. So the charts for the 29th, you know, it shows it is difficult pretty much across the UK except the southwest.
Yeah.
However, we've been moon sighting in Northolt in the west of London since September 2018, and often on the 29th If we haven't seen the moon, we kind of have scheduled our gathering for the 30th night, and it's by way of training. And not just a like empty dry training, it's us experiencing a phenomena that is accessible to the whole world for many, many millennia, and we're really getting something out of that as well. It's really enjoyable and it's very uplifting. You feel connected to Allah so strongly because you've kind of observed this thing that He set out for us. So
absolutely. I mean, I personally, I've been looking into this. I know about New Crescent Society. I know about other groups. I know about, I think, the ICO UK who do the reporting. And I've recently been looking into it too. I mean, that's how me and you know each other through these circles. And I'm in the Blackburn moonsighters, and we try monthly basis. I've been doing it for about roughly a year now, and I'll tell you, I've seen that new moon like more times in the last year than I've seen in my life, because I've actually bothered to go and look for it. And go with the brothers to go and have a look, go to those locations, look for it on the right days, look in the right direction, because over here you can't see it where most people live. You can't see it. You're going to have to face the western horizon to see the moon, and that is facing the western coast, and Blackburn's in a valley surrounded by hills, so you need to get out of it to make a bit of effort to sight the moon, guys. But when we do sight the moon, it's amazing. I may have seen it like once in my life, like by accident, but to actually go and look for it and target particular days. In the last year, I've seen it more times. I've not seen it every month, but I've seen it more times than I've seen it my entire life. And I'll say to people at home, it's worth it. Try to go and sight the moon. I mean, I remember on Eid, a couple of families came out just to check it for themselves, and we were there and we were looking at it. The family was so happy that they saw the moon, and that gives them certainty, a surety that and go ahead and see the moon. And I'll just give you a last word before we close that up, Samira.
I mean, what you just described is exactly the thing that keeps me motivated and going, is the actual experience of sighting the moon is really beautiful. And the thing is, if you keep going, you end up being a little moon sighting community. And for some reason, you're very, connected to each other. We've got families, we've got all sorts of people who come to ours. We bring food and snacks. And even when it's a negative sighting, still there's a sense of responsibility that we have, that we're doing it in our corner of the UK. Somebody else is doing it elsewhere, and collectively we're kind of providing data and kind of feeding into this mechanism we'll have. But the day that we do see it, it's really worth it and it's really beautiful. But regardless, we will go out and we'll do our part, because it's a community effort to sight the moon. And when we look at the nations that have this established, they have moon sighters across their nations, all doing this and all reporting in whichever means, to make sure that they have a united Eid. So we're going to duplicate that, inshallah. And
duplicate that for the UK, inshallah. Excellent. Jazakallah khair, Samira, for coming on the show. And inshallah, guys, I understand you're going to be on the training on Saturday too?
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, inshallah. And Jazakallah for that. And that's it for tonight's show. And look out for our new show, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll have a further show in a few days, possibly a week, at the Real Agenda. And look out on social media too. We shall reveal what it's about. And thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.